Welcome back, everybody. In today's video, I just want to go over just a recap of the championship games, kind of go over a little bit of my thoughts for the early Super Bowl matchup. Not going to go over predictions just because it's a little early. We still got 2 weeks, so I just want to get into those. So the Bucs actually defeated the Packers 31-26. This one, in my first video that I made, I predicted that this would have been the divisional matchup, and I did pick the Bucs to win. Of course, it was an NFC championship game, and it went the way I thought it would go, with the Bucs winning. Very close game as well. But what I wanted to do is kind of get into some numbers real quick. So everything was kind of close, right? So for third downs, the Bucs were 9 of 14, Packers were 8 of 14, 351 total yards to 381 total yards. The thing was pretty close. Turnovers, the Bucs had 3 turnovers to the Packers 2, right? So really, at the end of the day, what kind of separates teams that win and lose, especially in one-possession games, is the red zones, right? The Bucs got in the red zone twice and scored 2 touchdowns, where the Packers got in the red zone 4 times, scored 2 touchdowns. So you're not really going to win a game, especially a close game like that when you're playing a good offense. When you get in the red zone, you have to score touchdowns. And obviously, the decision to kick the 2 field goals there in a 5-point game really is the end up is how you get costed a game, right? If you score a touchdown in one of those 2 times, right, you go for 2, right, and you could tie the ball game up, especially on that last possession. Now, when you look at the numbers, looks like Aaron Rodgers kind of got outplayed Tom Brady. When you look at it, Tom Brady was 20 of 36, 280 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 picks, and Aaron Rodgers was 33 of 48, 346 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 pick, right? So it kind of looks like Aaron Rodgers really outplayed him. But when you look at the QBR stat, Tom Brady was 75.4, his total QBR, to Aaron Rodgers 61.8. And what QBR is, it's kind of just a stat that kind of measures how well you played. So what it does is it is kind of, even though you threw a pick, it factors in, was the pick off of someone's hands, right, like a receiver's hands, and then go to the DB, right? Was it just a bad decision? So QBR is kind of like a cumulative game score, I guess, if you could say, of who played better. Now, obviously, not a perfect metric, but it kind of goes to show you that even though Brady had a couple more interceptions, some more turnovers, but a couple of them were not like bad decisions, more just, good plays from the defender that was made. It was kind of like Aaron Rodgers' 1 interception where the DB on the slant route kind of just, he turns his head and puts his hands in front and just makes an incredible play. But when you look at the ball placement, it was literally would have been right in the receiver's hands coming off the break. So it was a phenomenal throw from Aaron Rodgers. Just a very good play from the DB. And then with the Bills-Chiefs game, it was 24-38. Now, the game actually wasn't even as close as the final score would indicate it was, even though that's a 14-point margin. The Bills actually, obviously, if you watch the game, they jumped up 9-0. They got the very early turnover from the punt return. Were able to get a touchdown. Kicker actually missed the extra point, so that's why it was only 9. And then the Chiefs scored 21 unanswered, and then a couple field goals were exchanged, and then the Chiefs scored 14 more and kind of started to run away with the game late third, early fourth quarter. Now, with this game, obviously, it's just like I kind of was talking about the Bills, for the whole postseason run. Josh Allen is literally a top 5 quarterback. I don't think he gets enough respect in that sense, but, their running game is almost non-existent, right? And it puts a lot of pressure on that quarterback, and any quarterback for that matter, if your offense is literally predicated on just being able to throw the ball and not being able to run the ball at all. So when you look at the rushing totals, it's a little deceiving, right? The Bills ran for 130 yards, 129 to be exact. And you're like, well, that's a pretty good game, except when you factor in the fact that of the 129 rushing yards, 88 of them were Josh Allen on 7 carries. So you take those away, and they had 11 carries for 41 rushing yards. That's 3.7 yards on average. Not great, but also not good, right? To rush for only 41 yards on 11 attempts, kind of goes to show you that their running game is almost non-existent. Now, obviously, the game kind of got away from them early third quarter, so you're kind of forced to have to pass the ball, so that kind of affects it as well. But, when you put so much pressure on your quarterback, right, going into the game, he would have had to have, almost like a 400-yard, 4-touchdown day. And he was good, not great. He finished 28 of 48, 287, 2 touchdowns and a pick with a 60 QBR, whereas Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes, right? He finished 29 of 38, so essentially 1 more completion on 10 less throws for 325 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks, and a 95.8 quarterback rating. Now, obviously, the Bills defense played very, very well the week before against the Baltimore Ravens, but did not play a good game, particularly the week before that in the wildcard round against the Indianapolis Colts. So their kind of defense came back to what it was playing at for most of the year, which is kind of an average level defense. And when you go up against a top offense, that's usually what's going to happen. Whereas the Chiefs defense was surprisingly really good, right? The Chiefs defense is not particularly how they win games, and they were able to get after Josh Allen and kind of pressure him most of the game. They sacked him 4 times, they hit him a bunch more. Whereas Patrick Mahomes, they got there in a couple plays, and Mahomes was able to do it kind of what Josh Allen does, avoid the pressure. They actually only sacked him 1 time. So the pressure wasn't as much as what Kansas City was doing to Josh Allen. So now we have our Super Bowl matchup, right? It's going to be the Kansas City Chiefs against the Tampa Bay Bucks, right? Kind of like the old GOAT versus the new one, right? That's what everyone's kind of hyping it up as, which, it should be a very good matchup to watch. Obviously, in my preseason, or my playoff predictions, excuse me, I did have the Bucks going to the Super Bowl, had them losing to the Ravens, obviously. So at least I got that right, that they're getting there. And then with Kansas City, obviously I think it's everyone's favorite to go to and win the championship. So kind of no shocker there. Now, obviously, the way the Kansas City Chiefs defense has really been playing throughout the whole postseason, if their defense plays anywhere close to that, it's going to be very tough to beat them because their offense is so explosive. They're going to score 30-plus points. And yeah, I think even on the Bucks defense, right, even though the Bucks defense has played very well the entire postseason. And then with the Bucks and Tom Brady, at least the Super Bowl is going to be in Tampa, right? So no cold weather game, don't have to go to Lambeau or nothing like that. So I think Tom Brady might play a little better, right? He is 43 years old, so having to play in the cold probably wasn't the best game for him. And then one interesting note, kind of was going back, and I was thinking to myself, this is probably the first Super Bowl of the 10 that Brady's been in since his first one, where going into the game, he's not the consensus best quarterback on the field. And actually went back and did it, right? Because obviously the first Super Bowl, Brady was playing Kurt Warner, and at the time, right, of the game being played, Kurt Warner was clearly the better quarterback, right? He had already won an MVP. He had already won a Super Bowl, whereas Tom Brady was starting in his first season as a starting quarterback. But all the other Super Bowls was his second one. Brady went up against the Panthers, so Jake Delhomme, he's clearly the better quarterback there. Then Brady versus McNabb. McNabb was a good quarterback, but Brady was clearly the better one. And then 2 times in a row, Brady versus Eli, where Eli was good, but I think everyone would have said that Brady was the better quarterback. And then the 6th Super Bowl was Brady versus Russell Wilson. I really don't think it's as close as everyone might think it is. It's kind of like Brady's first Super Bowl, where knowing what we know now, right, we know Brady was a very good quarterback. But I think when Brady played Russell Wilson, that Super Bowl was not the same quarterback that he is now, where he's throwing for 40 touchdowns and he's, an MVP candidate. During those early years, he was kind of just game managed, and he had such a great defense that he leaned on the defense and the running game to win them more ball games than him winning the ball games himself. And then the last couple, obviously the closest one I think was the 7th Super Bowl, where it was Brady versus Matt Ryan. Right, Matt Ryan was the MVP that year. He was coming off an amazing season. He had been in the league for about a decade and had been to multiple Pro Bowls. So he was, in his own right, a very good quarterback. But Brady was still playing at an elite level, so I think a lot of people would still have said that Brady was the better quarterback. And then the last two, right, Brady versus Nick Foles, everyone would have taken Brady, and Brady versus Jared Goff, everyone would have taken Brady. But I think this is the first Super Bowl where I think a lot of people understand that obviously age is a factor, right? Brady is 43. That Patrick Mahomes, I think, if you were to ask all 32 GMs and just casual fans and diehard fans, who's the better quarterback, I think everybody would probably tell you it's going to be Patrick Mahomes. So it's going to be a little interesting, right? Because I think in this game, the Bucks as a team is just going to have to play better than Kansas City as a team, because I think Patrick Mahomes can just do more than what Tom Brady can do at this stages of their careers. No shocker there. I think everyone knows that. But it should be fun and exciting game. Like I said, I won't give you my predictions in today's video, right? We got about 2 weeks, kind of see, what I think is going to happen, and I'll kind of collect my thoughts on that and kind of look at the way the playoff games went and maybe rewatch them and see who I think is going to win as we get closer to the actual Super Bowl date. So that's going to be it for today's video. Didn't want to make too long of a video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked the video, make sure you like it, and please subscribe. It does help the channel out a lot. Thank you guys so much, and I look forward to the next video.